I've noticed a disturbing pattern becoming more and more prevalent in government today, and I want to take some time and ponder that with you. Really, the question is, who's in charge? More and more state, local, and federal government act as if we work for them rather than the other way around. But is that what was established by our founding fathers? We'll discuss that next on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution and teach the rising generation to be free. As always, you can find out more. You can make suggestions and ask questions right there at constitutionstudy.com. I want to thank those who have sent me questions and ideas and are trying to support the work that we're doing here. But today I want to ponder this idea. This is part of my Ponder This series. And the real question is, who's in charge? See, I look at legislation that's being proposed. I look at laws that have been passed. I look at regulations that have been passed. And there's a disturbing pattern that's becoming more and more prevalent. It's nothing new, and it's always kind of been there simmering in the back of my head. But I wanted to take some time and discuss it with you. And that really is, who is in charge? Who works for whom? I see it sometimes at the federal level where we've got legislation where we're being told what we'll be allowed to think, what we'll be allowed to say in public, how we'll be allowed to act, right down to how big your toilets can be and what type of light bulbs you can have. If you think about it, this is government dictating to the people how they should live. I see it in state governments. I see it in local governments. I see it a lot in building codes and zoning ordinances where governments assume they know best and they will dictate to us how we will live our lives. And it really brings you back to thinking, wait a second, what did our founding fathers create? You see, America is referred to as an experiment in self-government. But more and more, this is not really self-government. More and more, we have an aristocracy. The difference between our aristocracy and the one we declared independence from was we elect most of the aristocrats now, where many of the aristocrats in England in the 18th century were based on inheritance, was based on bloodline. But think about it for a minute. See, when you go to the voting booth, you are hiring people to represent you, to act as your agents. Yet more and more, those agents are telling us, no, this is how you're going to live your life. More and more, we see the government dictating to the people everything. I see EPA saying that a gentleman digging ponds on his own land is against the rules. You can't do that. Or he's going to be fined, and he's actually jailed because he dug small ponds on his own land that he uses to provide water, to sell water to the Forestry Service to fight fires. But you see, that isn't the way the government wants you to do it. I talked about toilets and light bulbs, and you can think about tags on laundry and all of this. But what really kind of brings it to light are local zoning laws. I know this is a Constitution study, and we will talk about that, but think about this. There is in an effort to keep us safe, we have turned over decisions about how buildings are to be built to government representatives. Now, I agree that the idea of having a safe building to live in, a safe building to work in, is important, and there are considerations, but it's gone from, we really have to have certain rules to make sure that things are safe, to, no, we're not only going to tell you how you should build your house. We're not going to tell you that it has to meet certain safety. We're going to tell you what material you can use. We're going to tell you how many outlets you have in your house. Yes, that's part of the zoning code. We're going to tell you how close your house can be to the neighbors. We're going to tell you what you can build with based on how close it is. Literally, they want to control every detail about how you build your house. Now, this has grown to the point where states want to tell you, what you can do with your land. Not as a question of, are you harming someone else? In other words, they aren't simply protecting the rights of others. They've gone beyond it to dictating to people how they think they should live their life. And now we see it, well, not now, it's been going on in the federal government where we have, the latest was, I can't remember his name, said, listen, religious liberty is not an excuse for infringing on the rights of transgenders. Well, stop and think about that for a second. The Constitution protects my right to express my religion, to exercise and engage in my religion in public how I see fit. The Constitution doesn't protect my right to use the surname that I wish used. That you'll go to jail if I don't use the proper pronoun that somebody wants me to use because I'm obviously not in their head. See, the government has gone beyond protecting legitimate rights to protecting what they think is the way we should live. And whether you agree with it or not, the question is, what is the role of the government? Does the government get to pick and choose what rules it will enact, what its scope of influence is? Does the government get to choose, especially the federal government, get to choose where its authority lies? You see, if you go back to the Declaration, remember that governments are created among men to protect our rights. And when they stop protecting our rights, we have the authority to change or abolish them. That was the justification for separating from Great Britain. They were not protecting our rights. We listed out 27 specific areas where they didn't. That's why we said sayonara, so to speak. Yet now we have the government, we in the Constitution, we created a federal government. We said, here are your boundaries, this far and no farther. That's what the 10th Amendment was there for. If it's not specifically given to the federal government, it remains with the states or with the people. Yet now we have the federal government going, I have there's no real delegated authority, but we're going to do it anyway because we can get the votes. I'm reminded of a situation, actually it was a meeting in the Senate, where Dianne Feinstein berated, she got all upset with a general for not using her title the way she thought it should be used. You see, in the military, they are trained, you address a person by their title the first time, then you refer to them as sir or madam. That is the honorable way, an efficient way that you deal with somebody especially somebody of authority. And she was all upset that she'd worked so hard to become a senator, and he didn't refer to her as senator over and over and over again. Now, my personal point of view is, too bad. Now, granted, the military does it does effectively work for Congress. Congress sets the rules for the military. So if Congress wants to pass a law that says this is how the military is supposed to address public officials, be my guest. I think it may be stupid, but go ahead. But I'm really tired of elected officials acting like we work for them. Like they're lording a position over us. Whether that be how they want to be addressed in public, whether that be their willingness to respond to constituents. I'm dealing with a situation now where when I first moved to Tennessee, I tried several times to get in touch with my representative, my member of the House of Representatives. I never got an answer back. I have state representative that was difficult to get an answer back. I have a state senator that still hasn't answered me back. To me, that's offensive. You work for us. We hired you through the vote. where do you get off thinking now that we are there to support you? No, you're there to protect our rights. And I guess it just came to light with several of the situations and news articles going on where I see elected officials acting like an aristocracy. And that bothers me. That disturbs me. And I thought it was worth just a few minutes to stop and ponder who works for who. Isn't it about time that we remind elected officials that they work for the people of the United States and of their state and of their county and of their town, and not the other way around? They are hired by us. They work for us. And I think it's about time we reminded them of that particular fact. So I hope it made you think. I hope it pondered this. Again, it's always kind of been there, but every so often I see something that just brings it out and makes me think. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it made you think. And I hope I'll see you again the next time on the Constitution Study. Have a great day.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line